In this video we're going to look at report grids, which is a new feature that was delivered as part of Waltz 1.28. We'll take a quick look at what they are, and then we'll dive into how they're configured, how you can set them up for yourself. So report grids are around summarizing information about applications belonging to a group, so an org unit, a person group, a measurable, or just a straightforward app group. The sort of detail we want to capture is around the individual app level. Currently we can capture anything that's in the assessments, so any of the custom assessments we may have, and we can also capture things which are in the ratings, so any of the sort of rating values. We see this in action. Obviously this is just a single app, so the data is already here. When we start looking at a group of applications, let's just sample data. Let's look at the top of the tree. We can see there's a new section here called reports. Click on this, and it gives us the first time you're in, it'll give you a report picker, which one you want to see, and we can click on one of these reports and it loads up. If you reopen this, it should remember which one you were interested in and load that one straight away. So now we can see we've got this grid, hence the name report grid. Applications down the side, and across the top we have the columns that have been configured through data, as to which ones we want to see. So these are a mixture of assessments and also the ratings from the measurable ratings. The values are just the values that are aligned to those, and we can also put these into a summary, and it acts a bit like an Excel filter where we can add to the summary and we can start saying, show me applications that are good or adequate, and show me which ones of those contain say internal or strictly confidential or confidential data. So you can quickly filter out the data that you're interested in by adding these summarization columns and filtering on them. The straightforward search, so if we want to find an application, we can do it that way. And also, if there's a particular value you're interested in, so we're interested in BCBS, we can select a pin. At that point, doesn't matter how many columns we have. When we scroll, it will keep that value pinned there. Obviously, you'll pin it again. So that's the feature. We can export everything in it. So quickly export to CSV, and we should be able to open that up. Open that in LibreOffice. 1 second, just wait for this to start up, and we should see we've got the same data loaded in via a spreadsheet. So how is this configured? So we have report grids. We've got a couple of new tables. Let's take a quick look at them. So new tables, we've got report grid column definition. We just take a look at those tables. Report grid, column definition. Let's just have a quick look at the visualization of that. You can see we've got a report grid, which is made up of multiple report grid column definitions. So a report grid defines the ones we saw in that initial list when we were choosing one. So a name has pretty much an ID, we've got an external ID and provenance, usually used if you're bulk loading these things. And again, for the columns, we sort of link back to the report grid, and we have what type of thing it is. So currently the two values are supported in measurables and assessment definitions. If you want to override the display name, for instance, if the name is very long and doesn't fit particularly well in that sort of grid column title, we can give it a shorter name here. We can then also tell it immediately whether we want to summarize it, so it appears as one of those filterable summaries. And there's also a rollup rule, which is useful for when you want to, rather than choosing a leaf node in the measurable tree, things that measure that ratings are on, have a more of an aggregate view. I'll explain that in a bit more detail, just in case that's not super clear. So, for instance, if you wanted, we've got the BCBS hierarchy here. The BCBS is marked as abstract, and it's also a sort of root level node. If we wanted to just know, whether an app has anything in BCBS subtree, in this case the whole tree, we could just say, okay, we want to include this as a measurable, and the roll-up rule would be, okay, if we want to roll up and choose either the best or the worst rating. We'll go into that in a tiny bit more detail in a minute. So, having a look at the data in here, we can see the ones we have to find. So we've got the report grid, which we saw. We had the cloud readiness and the cloud data readiness with the description, etc. We then have column definitions. So if we look at these, we can see it's got the report grid, the position, what it is, it's a measurable 104 in this case, whether or not it's a summary column, and whether there's a roll-up rule. So here we've got pick highest. Now, highest, pick lowest, the roll-up rules. These are based on the fact that the rating schemes, which you're possibly familiar with, the rating scheme basically gives you the options when you're doing a rating, either an assessment rating or a measurable rating. You choose a scheme, so these are the schemes that I've got defined, and then you can have a rating scheme item which define the possible values. So a simplified view of that, you've got the scheme, the rating name, position, which says where it appears, and the colour. So position is often priority ordered, and so the pick highest, pick lowest is referring to this position. If all the positions are the same, then it falls back to alphabetical. So taking another look at this report grid, here's one with a little bit more detail, just done some joins to get the report grid, the columns, and either the measurable or the assessment definition, so I'm just left joining for simplicity. So you can see here we've got the cloud name, we've got the assessment name, which in this case we've got the cloud readiness, it's mostly empty. So we've got lots of measurables linked on this one, and we've got a couple of assessments. So yeah, that's pretty much how we define these things. So yeah, they are pretty simple. So you just go in, define a report grid, define some columns that you want to view, include, and some rules, the roll-up rules. It says that these can be summarizable, so we put that, and right, it's just summary. Oops, there it is. If we refresh here, that should automatically appear on the summary. There we go. And obviously we can do that for multiple columns. That's pretty much it for grids. The idea, well, to talk a little bit about their sort of purpose behind them, well, other than the obvious of presenting lots of data, they've been developed to support some cloud readiness initiatives. In particular, we're looking at the way we're looking at using it is to create grids over different aspects of our application's readiness. So we might look at data readiness, regulatory readiness, technology readiness, and then perhaps have a grid of grids, which is taking a summarized view of those summaries to say how we view each application and whether it's ready to go to the cloud or not. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Any questions, please open an issue on GitHub or reach out to us directly. Thanks very much.